the universe, who has sanctified us by thy commandments, and has commanded us to be a light unto the nations, and has given us Yeshua, the Messiah, as a light of the world. Amen.
Baruch et Adonai Hamvarach. Baruch Adonai Hamvarach leolam vayed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bakar banu mechol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah. Amen. Bless the Lord, the Blessed One.
Bless the Lord, the Blessed One, for all eternity.
Blessed are you, O Lord our God, King of the universe, who has chosen us from all peoples and given us his Torah. Blessed are you, O Lord, giver of the Torah. Amen.
Parsha 3, Lech Lecha, Genesis 12:1 through 17:27. Now Adonai said to Avram, "Get yourself out of your country, away from your kinsmen and away from your father's house, and go to the land that I will show you. I will make of you a great nation. I will bless you, and I will make your name great, and you are to be a blessing. I will bless those who bless you, but I will curse anyone who curses you, and by you all the families of the earth will be blessed." So Avram went as Adonai had said to him, and Lot went with him. Avram was 75 years old when he left Haran. Avram took his wife Sarai, his brother's son Lot, and all their possessions which they had accumulated, as well as the people they had acquired in Haran. Then they set out for the land of Canaan and entered the land of Canaan. Avram passed through the land to the place called Shechem, to the oak of Morah. The Canaanites were then in the land. Adonai appeared to Avram and said, "To your descendants I will give this land." So he built an altar there to Adonai, who had appeared to him. He left that place and went to the hill east of Bret El and pitched his tent. With Bayet El to the west and Ai to the east, he built an altar there and called on the name of Adonai. Then Avram traveled on, continuing toward the Negev. But there was a famine in the land, so Avram went down into Egypt to stay there, because the famine in the land was severe. When he came close to Egypt and was about to enter, he said to Sarai, his wife, "Hear now, I know that you are a good-looking woman, so that when the Egyptians see you, they will say, 'This is his wife,' and kill me but keep you alive. Please say that you are my sister, so that it will go well with me for your sake, and so that I will stay alive because of you." When Avram entered Egypt, the Egyptians did notice that the woman was very beautiful, and Pharaoh's princes saw her and commended her to Pharaoh. So the woman was taken into Pharaoh's house. He treated Avram well for her sake, giving him sheep, cattle, male and female donkeys, male and female slaves, and camels. But Adonai inflicted great plagues on Pharaoh and his household because of Sarai, Avram's wife. Pharaoh called Avram and said, "What is this that you have done to me? Why didn't you tell me that she was your wife? Why did you say, 'She is my sister,' so that I took her into my own as to be my own wife? Now therefore, here is your wife. Take her and go away." So Pharaoh gave orders concerning him to his men, and they sent him on his way with his wife and everything he had. Avram went up from Egypt, he, his wife, and everything he had, and Lot with him, into the Negev. And Avram became wealthy with much cattle, silver, and gold. As he went on his travels from the Negev, he came to Beit El, to the place where his tent had been at the beginning, between Beit El and Ai, where he had first built the altar, and there Avram called on the name of Adonai. Lot, who was traveling with Avram, also had flocks, herds, and tents. But the land could not support their living together, because their possessions were too great for them to remain together. And moreover, quarreling arose between Avram's and Lot's herdsmen. The Canaanite and the Perizzi were then living in the land. And Avram said to Lot, "Please, let's not have quarreling between me and you, or between my herdsmen and yours, since we're kinsmen. Isn't the whole land there in front of you? Please separate yourself from me. If you go to the left, I will go to the right. If you go to the right, I will go to the left." Lot looked up and saw that the whole plain of the Yarden was well watered everywhere. Before Adonai destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah, like the garden of Adonai, like the land of Egypt in the direction of Zoar. So Lot chose all the plain of the Yarden for himself, and Lot traveled eastward. Thus they separated themselves from each other. Avram lived in the land of the Canaan, and Lot lived in the cities of the plain, setting up his tent near Sodom. Now the men of Sodom were evil, committing great sins against Adonai. And Adonai said to Avram, after Lot had moved away from him, "Look all around you from where you are, to the north, to the south, to the east and the west. All the land you see, I will give it to you and your descendants forever. And I will make your descendants as numerous as the specks of dust on earth, so that if a person can count the specks of dust on earth, then your descendants can be counted. Get up and walk through the length and breadth of the land, because I will give it to you." Avram moved his tent and came to live by the oaks of Mamre, which are in Hebron. There he built an altar to Adonai. When Amraphel was king of Shinar, Arioch king of Elasar, Kedorla Omar king of Elam, and Tidal king of Goyim, they made war together against Barah king of Sodom and against the Birsha king of Amorah. Shinav king of Admah, Shamer king of Zoyim, and the king of Bela. All the latter kings joined forces in the Sidon Valley, where the Dead Sea is, and they served Kedorla Omar 12 years. But in the 13th year they rebelled. And in the 14th year, Kedorla Omar and the kings with him came and defeated the Rephaim in the Ashtrot Karnaim, and the Zuzim in the Ham, and the Immim in the Shaveh Kiryatayim, and the Hori in Seir, and their mountain all the way to El Paran by the desert. Next they turned back, came to Ain Mashpat, and defeated all the country of the Amalekite and also the Emori, who lived in the Hatzar-ran Tamar. Then the kings of Sodom and Amorah and Admah and Zeboim and the Bala came out and arrayed themselves for battle in the Siddim Valley against the Kedorlaomer, king of Elam, Tidal, king of Goim, Amraphel, king of Admah, and Aryon, king of Elasar, 4 kings against the 5. Now the Siddim Valley was full of clay pits, and when the kings of Sodom and Amorah fled, some fell into them, while the rest fled to the hills. The victors took all the possessions of Sodom and Amorah and all their food supply. Then they left. But as they left, they took Lot, Avram's brother's son, and his possessions, since he was living in Sodom. Someone who had escaped came and told Avram, the Hebrew, who was living by the oaks of Mamre, the Emori, brother of the Eshcol and brother of the Aner, all of them allies of Avram. When Avram heard that his nephew had been taken captive, he led out his trained men who had been born in his house, 318 of them, and went in pursuit as far as Dan. During the night, he and his servants divided his forces against them, then attacked and pursued them all the way to Hovah, north of the Damascus. He recovered all the goods and brought back his nephew Lot with his goods together with the women and the other people. And after his return from slaughtering Kedorlaomer and the kings with him, the king of Sodom went out to meet him in the Shaveh Valley, also known as the King's Valley. Malchi Tzedek, king of the Shalom, brought out bread and wine. He was Cohen of the El Elon, so he blessed him with these words: Blessed be Avram by El Elyon, maker of heaven and earth, and blessed be El Elyon, who handed your enemies over to you. Avram gave him 1/10 of everything. And the king of Sodom said to Avram, Give me the people and keep the goods for yourself. But Avram answered the king of Sodom, I have raised my hand in an oath to Adonai, El Elyon, maker of heaven and earth, that I will not take so much as a thread or a sandal thong of anything that is yours, so that you won't be able to say, I made Avram rich. I will take only what my troops have eaten and the share of the spoil belonging to the men who came with me. Anar, Eshcol, and Mamre, let them have their share. Sometime later, the word of Adonai came to Avram in a vision. Don't be afraid, Avram. I am your protector. Your reward will be very great. And Avram replied, Adonai, God, what good will your gifts be to me if I continue childless? And Eleazar from Damascus inherits my possessions. You haven't given me a child, Avram continued, so someone born in my house will be my heir. But the word of Adonai came to him. This man will not be your heir. No, your heir will be a child from your own body. Then he brought him outside and said, Look at the sky and count the stars. If you can count them, your descendants will be that many. And he believed in Adonai, and he credited it to him as righteousness. Then he said to him, I am Adonai, who brought you out from Ur-Kasdim to give you this land as your possession. He replied, Adonai God, how am I to know that I will possess it? He answered him, Bring me a 3-year-old cow, a 3-year-old female goat, a 3-year-old ram, a dove, and a young pigeon. He brought him all these things, cut the animals in two, and placed the pieces opposite of each other. And he didn't cut the birds in half. Birds of prey swooped down on the carcasses, but Avram drove them away. As the sun was about to set, a deep sleep fell on Avram. Horror and great darkness came over him. Adonai said to Avram, "No, this is for certain. Your descendants will be foreigners in a land that is not theirs. They will be slaves and held in oppression there 400 years. But I will also judge that nation, the one that makes them slaves. And afterwards they will leave with many possessions. As for you, you will join your ancestors in peace and be buried at a good old age. Only in the 4th generation will your descendants come back here, because only then will the Emori be ripe for punishment." After the sun had set, and there was great darkness, a smoking fire pot and a flaming torch appeared, which passed between these animal parts. That day Adonai made a covenant with Avram. "I have given this land to your descendants, from the Valley of Egypt to the great river, the Euphrates River, the territory of the Kenai and the Kenizzi and the Kammoni and the Hittite and the Perizzi and the Rephaim and the Emori and the Canaanite and the Gershashi and the Yavusi." Now Sarai, Avram's wife, had not borne him a child, but she had an Egyptian slave girl named Hagar. So Sarai said to Avram, "Here now, Adonai has kept me from having children, so go in and sleep with my slave girl. Maybe I'll be able to have children through her." Avram listened to what Sarai said. It was after Avram had lived 10 years in the land of Canaan that Sarai, Avram's wife, took Hagar, the Egyptian, her slave girl, and gave her to Avram, her husband, to be his wife. And Avram had sexual relations with Hagar, and she conceived. But when she became aware that she was pregnant, she looked on her mistress with contempt. Sarai said to Avram, "This outrage being done to me is your fault. True, I gave my slave girl to you to sleep with, but when she saw that she was pregnant, she began holding me in contempt. May Adonai decide who is right, I or you." However, Avram answered Sarai, "Look, she's your slave girl. Deal with her as you think fit." And then Sarai treated her so harshly that she ran away from her. And the angel of Adonai found her by spring in the desert, the spring on the road to Shur, and said, "Hagar, Sarai's slave girl, where have you come from, and where are you going?" And she answered, "I'm running away from my mistress Sarai." And the angel of Adonai said to her, "Go back to your mistress and submit to her authority." And the angel of Adonai said to her, "I will greatly increase your descendants. There will be so many that it will be impossible to count them." The angel of Adonai said to her, "Look, you are pregnant, and you will give birth to a son. You are to call him Yishmael, because Adonai has paid attention to your misery. He will be a wild donkey of a man, with his hand against everyone and everyone's hand against him, living his life at odds with all his kinsmen." So she named Adonai, who had spoken with her, El Roi, because she said, "Have I really seen the one who sees me?" This is why the well has been called Be'er Lachai Roi. It lies between Kadesh and Bered. Hagar bore Avram a son, and Avram called the son whom Hagar had borne Yishmael. Avram was 86 years old when Hagar bore Yishmael to Avram. When Avram was 99 years old, Adonai appeared to Avram and said to him, "I am El Shaddai. Walk in my presence and be pure-hearted. I will make my covenant between me and you, and I will increase your numbers greatly." Abraham fell on his face, and God continued speaking with him. "As for me, this is my covenant with you. You will be the father of many nations. Your name will no longer be Avram, but your name will be Avraham, because I have made you the father of many nations. I will cause you to be very fruitful. I will make nations of you. Kings will descend from you. I am establishing my covenant between me and you, along with your descendants after you, generation after generation, as an everlasting covenant, to be God for you and for the descendants after you. I will give you and your descendants after you the land in which you are now foreigners, all the land of Canaan as a permanent possession, and I will be their God. God said to Abraham, as for you, you are to keep my covenant, you and your descendants after you, generation after generation. Here is my covenant which you are to keep between me and you, along with your descendants after you. Every male among you is to be circumcised. You are to be circumcised in the flesh of your foreskin. This will be the sign of the covenant between me and you. Generation after generation, every male among you who is 8 days old is to be circumcised, including slaves born within your household, and those bought from a foreigner not descended from you. The slave born in your household and the person bought with money must be circumcised. Thus my covenant will be in your flesh as an everlasting covenant. Any uncircumcised male will not let himself be circumcised in the flesh of his foreskin. That person will be cut off from his people because he has broken my covenant. God said to Abraham, as for Sarai, your wife, you are not to call her Sarai. Her name is to be Sarah. I will bless her moreover. I will give you a son by her. Truly I will bless her. She will be a mother of nations. Kings of people will come from her. At this, Abraham fell on his face and laughed. He thought to himself, will a child be born to a man 100 years old? Will Sarah give birth at 90? Abraham said to God, if only Ishmael could live in your presence. And God answered, no, but Sarah, your wife, will bear you a son, and you are to call him Yitzchak. I will establish my covenant with him as an everlasting covenant for his descendants after him. But as for Ishmael, I have heard you. I will bless him, I will make him fruitful, and give him many descendants. He will father 12 princes, and I will make him a great nation. But I will establish my covenant with Yitzchak, whom Sarah will bear to you at this time next year. With that, God finished speaking with Abraham and went up from him. Abraham took Ishmael his son, all the slaves born in his house, and all who had been bought with his money, every male among the people in Abraham's household, and circumcised the flesh of the foreskin that very day, just as God had said to him. Abraham was 99 years old when he was circumcised in the flesh of his foreskin, and Ishmael his son was 13 years old when he was circumcised in the flesh of his foreskin. Abraham and Ishmael his son were circumcised on the same day. And all the men in his household, both slaves born in this house and those bought for money from a foreigner, were circumcised with him.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torah emet, v'chaya olam nata betukenu. Baruch atah Adonai, noten haTorah. Amen. Blessed are you, O Lord our God, King of the universe, who has given us a Torah of truth and has planted eternal life in our midst. Blessed are you, O Lord, giver of the Torah. Amen.